What would you make of that, Brad? It was tough, it was willing, and they certainly made you earn it, but it was a great game for 4 quarters, really.
Yeah, I mean, their backs against the wall. I mean, they're a really proud club, and got a lot of quality players, so we were under no illusions what we were going to get. Tonight was a hard game probably to plan for because they're a little bit in uncharted territory for them. They've been such a successful team over a fair period of time. That, whether they attacked us, whether they looked to be a bit more defensive, it was a little bit of a tough one to plan for. But I thought that they defended reasonably well, although the scores don't tend to back that up. But I thought they made it harder for us to score at times. Got a number back a lot of the time. Apart from some glaring errors, which are just simple errors that don't need any explaining. Largely, we used the ball pretty well. We just made some real clangers that directly cost us goals. So I didn't think that allowed us to take or to put the score on the board that we deserved based on some dominance in other areas.
Each time they came at you and eventually back a couple of times, your guys responded and scored a couple of quick goals. Is that another sign of just the growth, the maturity of the group?
Yeah, I think it was another mature win. It was not our best performance, not the absolute optimum to what we're capable of, but I think the players had a real sense of calm out there, even when they're under pressure, and even when Fremantle really came at us as we expected, the boys were able to respond. So that's been a fair while coming for us. We've worked really hard on that, and I think that all 22 at various stages tonight showed great maturity. Even Mason Wood in his first couple of games, who did some really nice things, some things he's got to continue to work on, but he showed some real poise and effort in the contest.
Just following on from that, Brad, is that a game a couple of years ago you might have dropped or would have dropped?
Yeah, like round one, like round three, and this week. So that's been part of our evolution for sure. But they're all tight games. They're all tough games, regardless of what the score is at the end of the day. What this season's throwing up so far is what I think a few of us have thought for a while, that it's going to be really competitive now, and the AFL have got exactly what they hope for, which is a fairly equalised competition where any team can take it up to any other team on any given Sunday.
And just following on from that, you're the only team with 4 zip, and you've had to chase tails a fair few seasons. Just the importance of where you are.
Well, it's a platform. It's nothing more than that, really. I mean, it's a handy platform for us to build on, but it doesn't guarantee us anything. We know that there are going to be significant challenges put before us, for the rest of this year, but we are in a qualification period, for 22 games to qualify as best we can, and we have put ourselves behind the 8 ball in previous seasons. So from that perspective, the start's really pleasing, and it's pleasing that we can work on things that we want to improve with wins on the board.
The pre-season tweak has been spoken a bit of, I guess, in the turning up ratcheting up the intensity a bit. Does this validate that? Is it that simple? Would you credit that for the reason?
No, I wouldn't. I mean, it's been part of it, but I mean, there's been so many things and so many people who have put in an enormous amount of work that it'd be unfair just to look at one isolated thing. I mean, quite frankly, I knew the one thing we weren't going to do in the pre-season this year was what we've done the previous 3 years. It needed to change. We were never pig-headed enough to think that we had all the answers, because clearly the results early in the season weren't going our way. So we changed some things. But I mean, the list build that Cameron Joyce has led with Bryce Lewis has been, as big a reason as any. We'll continue to bring players through, continue to bring young players through with some experience around them. So, I still remember, like it was yesterday, sitting here when Ben Cunnington and Jack Zeeble were starting in their first games as inside midfielders for us. And you see, Zeeble, Cunnington in particular today, they've just grown so much. So there's been a lot of work going into the start of the year, and it's not just the pre-season tweak.
One of those guys that came in, Brad, Jared White, is it becoming more than just a purple patch this season and maybe the start of a really good season for him?
I think he had a really good season last year. You know, he look, he's got himself really fit. The sports science and medical team have done a great job giving him a program that he's bought into and he's really driven. And we've been pretty consistent with what we've expected of Wadey, and he's getting some reward offensively at the moment for all his hard work, but that's not what his game's built on. His game's built on defensive pressure. I think he's the best. You know, you can make an argument that there aren't any better key forward pressure players in the competition than Wadey, and I wouldn't think that would have been his legacy from early in his career. So he's done a terrific job to make that the cornerstone of his game, and he tends to get involved in the game offensively when he's doing that.
You mentioned Zeeble, who gets you 5 votes, and the coaches this week, him or 5. It's a fair,
Yeah.
two fairly good games.
Yeah, they both had real influence. This is the good. I don't know how the umpires do it. They give their votes now, don't they?
Mm.
Yeah, I need 24 hours at least to think about it.
Yeah, just a question not specifically relating to the game, but free agency is obviously up for review. How do you look at the years at North Melbourne free agency? I mean, Wade, Higgins, Del Santo, it's been pretty good to you, hasn't it, free agency?
Yeah, we've been proactive in that space. I mean, there are a lot of people out there who are critical of free agency and said, you know, it was going to cripple clubs like us. And we never for a second thought that. You know, we think that we've worked really hard to build a football club that our supporters, members can be really proud of, but just as importantly, other players look, respect and admire and see it as a place that they can play their best footy. And I think those 3 players that you mentioned are shining examples of that. You know, you can argue that they've never played better footy than they're playing right now.
One aspect of your game, tonight, your players seem to have a real killer instinct when you're forced to turnover. Is that something you're pleased with this season?
Yeah, I mean, that was one pleasing aspect. But a couple of times we gave the ball straight back too. You know, I can think of, you know, Luke McDonald's terrific mark on Hayden Ballantyne. He just played on and kicked it back to them. You know, he was quick to apologise and said he got so excited by the whole thing and just got a rush of blood, and, you know, it was like a deer in the headlights. But, you know, he's played, I think he's in his 3rd season for us, and, you know, we really rate him. But that's just an example of how, you know, guys develop and evolve, and, you know, he'll get much better at that. But, you know, I still wasn't happy with at times. We just gave the ball back far too easily. And even in the last quarter, you know, we gifted them 2 goals just through, you know, silly mistakes.
I was going to say, would you like to be conceding fewer goals than you have in the last couple of weeks, or is it just a byproduct of how the game's being played at the minute, the scoring?
I think it's going to take a little while to settle. I thought we, you know, if we cleaned up the horrible turnover goals that we conceded, and made Fremantle work harder for their scores, I think it would have been a more respectable defensive effort. But unfortunately, we coughed those up. So, you know, we have to live with I think 101 points against. Last week, I think it's an aberration. Like the wind just was out of control. So, you know, it's a rare game, that one. But also, I mean, we've got 2 more games down in Hobart, so that gives us great home ground advantage down there when we know exactly what we're going to get.
You have to the Gold Coast next week, and they've caused some problems up there. How do you prepare for that? What did you make of them?
I think they're a better side than most people give them credit for. I think after they beat Fremantle over in Perth, people probably sat up and took a bit more notice. But, you know, you're right, they've given us some trouble in the past. They'd have some confidence against us, I would have thought. But we're a different side now. We're a side that, you know, I think is a lot more mature, and I don't think we give up games easily. You know, if you're going to, you know, I think the guys have got a real attitude now that if you're going to beat us, we're going to have to play well, because we're not going to hand you anything.
When did you notice that attitude? Is that something that's come about this season?
Yeah, I saw it in parts last second half of last year as well. Self-belief's a wonderful thing. You know, you can't. There's no real supplement for self-belief. You've got to build it bit by bit, and we've certainly had to do that bit by bit over a fair period of time. So it's been building, but it's fair to say it's as good as it's ever been. Thanks, guys. Cheers.